So the Makerfield by-election results are in, and it wasn't as bad as I had feared, but it wasn't as good as I had hoped either. Labour, nearly 25,000 votes there for Andy Burnham, which is ridiculous. But if you look below the numbers, you see that the turnout was only 59%. And if you had told me that before the election, I wouldn't have been very hopeful for Rupert Lowe. You know, his whole key to victory is mobilising the people who don't vote, the non-voters. We saw that in Great Yarmouth, and 59% just wasn't a high enough turnout to get those non-voters into the booth voting for Restore Britain. Reform will be disappointed on two fronts. Obviously, they lost, but also they cannot blame this loss on Rupert Lowe or Restore Britain, because even if you add every single Restore vote to the Reform count, they wouldn't have got close, so they can't even whine on Twitter. I see a lot of people surprised. We've heard a lot of good vibes out of the Restore and Reform camps. They really believe that this seat was going to swing to the right, but if you look closer, you know, this seat is full of a lot of boomers, homeowners that haven't really been touched by immigration in a bad way yet. You know, the hobbits haven't seen the orcs, so to say, so they don't know what to be afraid of at this point. And now we get to see some kind of turmoil in the Labour Party, which, yeah, I'm not sure. Andy Burnham, Keir Starmer, I think they could literally have Superman in charge for the next election. They're going to lose. We already know that. Genuinely even believe that a Boris Johnson government is more likely to get elected in next over another successive Labour government. And they only have themselves to blame for that. Now, on the Restore Britain front, are there any positives to take from this by-election? And for me, there are some. I mean, just purely numbers-wise, they got triple the amount of votes than the Tories got. I mean, I know this is the Conservatives of 2026, so that's not really saying much, but still, that's somewhat of a moral victory. I know there's going to be lots of more casual people in the public who will be checking the result and seeing that Restore, you know, beat parties like the Lib Dems, beat parties like the Green Party, and that's going to get into their psyche just a little bit. I think that most of the positives of this by-election for Restore have already happened well before election day. Just getting Rupert Lowe's name out there, Rupert Lowe's face out there, getting the party out there, showing that it is a real alternative and it won't back down from Reform's pressure. You guys are probably like me. You heard a lot of positive things coming out of the camp of Reform, and you Restore. Jesus, why do they have to have their names so similar? Out of Restore, and you probably expected a better result. But like I said, the turnout, it was always going to be difficult. It wasn't as simple as it once looked. And I know to you and me, we know that Andy Burnham isn't going to be much of a difference to Keir Starmer, but to the wider casual public, they don't hate Andy Burnham yet. You know, he's not been a part of a government yet. So they still feel kind of apathetic at worst to him and positive at best. I do believe if they had a more establishment Labour figure standing in the seat, then there was probably a chance that Reform could have taken it. But having an outsider, maverick, a rebel, all these words that have been used to describe Andy Burnham, that just helped their cause massively. Elsewhere, the Greens got 300 odd votes. I mean, that was probably just the 2 or 3 Somali families that live in Makerfield, I assume. But yeah, this was Rupert Lowe's first real battle. And if he had won it, it would have been amazing. If he had got, you know, closer to Reform, that would have been amazing. But he stood there, he stood strong, he took no deals. And I think that showed a lot to his base, that we can trust him. He's not going to back down to Farage's pressure or the media's pressure. My main point about this is don't have doom and gloom. I've seen some on Twitter trying to spin this into a positive, and I'm not going to lie, it's not positive. It is very disappointing to see these numbers, but at the same time, you got to imagine that this is just kind of getting match fitness for the real, you know, general election. This was more of like a training game. This was like a friendly, just to get into the swing of things, getting people mobilized on the ground, getting Rupert Lowe's just persona out there. And I think that in terms of that, there was a lot of ground gained. Really, any votes for Restore in this was a bonus. Reform are the ones who were expected to take the victory. They were expected the challenge. So if anyone should be disappointed, it's Reform Britain. Especially the fact that they cannot blame Rupert Lowe, because like I said, 3,000 plus 15,000 doesn't make more than 25,000. Simple maths. Let me know your reaction in the comments. I'm going to start making more and more videos, hopefully daily, off the cuff, raw like this, no scripting. So just let me know what type of videos you would like to see. Or if you want me to just stop and go back to graft, because I can just as well do that as well. Cheers, see you around.